In this video, I want to look at something that's often more honest than words, more consistent than headlines, and harder to consciously control. And that's body language. This is not a story about blame, and it's not about speculation. It's about observing how relationships communicate over time, especially when people are growing, evolving, and changing. Today, I'm going to walk through 3 moments using body language alone: the early years of Tom Brady and Gisele Bündchen, a snapshot from within their marriage, and then a look at how Gisele's body language presents in her current relationship. What's interesting isn't just what changes, but what becomes consistent. Body language does not tell us what people say they feel. It shows us how they occupy space, how they orient towards one another, and whether energy is merging, separating, or moving side by side. As always, take what resonates, leave what doesn't. If you have not subscribed to the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. This is an observational reading meant to create awareness and not conclusions. Okay, so let's take a look at this first image of Tom and Gisele. This image is back in their very early years of their relationship. So this image actually was taken in 2010, and this was an image of Tom and Gisele on the red carpet at the Met Gala in New York. At this point in Tom and Gisele's relationship, they were about a year into their marriage. So this was before the children. And apparently, Tom and Gisele, when they got married, they had almost, I believe, like 2 ceremonies. And so when you see them on the red carpet in the early years, you see images like this. As you can see, Gisele is smiling, she's happy. Tom has his hand at the small of her back, and they're very, very close on the red carpet. Like, there's literally no space in between them. You can see the energy between the two of these mega stars is really solid. There's very little breathing room. I mean, you see Gisele, she's facing Tom, they're pelvis to pelvis, and she's giving this whole smile. You see, she's just, at least it appears she's very taken with him. And some people would argue, they are celebrities. She's a model. This is possibly staged. But no, I think this image really does capture the energy between the two of them. Early marriage photos, no children. They're still technically newlyweds in this photo, and you can see it in her eyes. And Tom is locked in, giving her a kiss. I mean, it's just so quintessential of what everyone would hope you would see in a newly married couple. The other thing that I want to point out is not only is there no space in between them from the pelvis, but you'll also notice that Gisele's chest is also touching Tom's chest. I mean, these two are leaning into each other, and it's probably most likely a circus around them. But despite the circus around them, they are locked in, and they're giving the camera, of course, what they want. But this is energy you cannot fake. And what I will say is, if you look at most of the pictures between Tom and Gisele earlier on, when they were on the red carpet and doing various appearances together. This body language that exists is very, very common. It's very common for you to kind of see Gisele, her body facing Tom's and leaning into Tom's body. You know, Tom is kind of like that anchor, but typically on the earlier images, they're very much leaning into each other, and Gisele is usually going to have an image or photos of her body facing Tom's body. And this image just so happens to capture that there's literally no space in between them. There are other images of them out there that you could start to see a little bit of a gap on the in between in terms of their pelvis, even though Gisele typically would face Tom. But I think it's safe to say that this is a great representation of the electricity between the two of them, the passion that existed. And, they're clearly in love in this image. So now let's fast forward to their marital years. Now, this image is an image where Tom and Gisele are deep into their marriage. And this image was taken in 2019. It's actually at an event they attended in Beverly Hills. And this image was of the Hollywood for Science gala that was hosted by UCLA back in 2019. Gisele, I believe, was an honoree at this event, but what's important to note is that this image is actually taken about 2 to 3 years before Tom and Gisele divorced. And this image is so striking because you will instantly see a change or a shift in their body language. As I stated in the first image, many of the images you will see of Tom and Gisele throughout the early years of their marriage was Gisele leaning into Tom. Her body would be facing Tom and she's leaning in to him, and they're literally almost pelvis to pelvis. Now, in this image, you can actually see a difference in their body language. They're not pelvis to pelvis. She's not leaning pelvis to pelvis with him. She is very much facing the cameras. And obviously, this is a red carpet event, but again, most of the red carpet events in their early years, their body language dynamic was still very much the same as her leaning in and him being the anchor. But you see that this is a clear kind of separation between the two, where he's angled a little bit towards her and she's angled slightly towards him, but mostly towards the camera. I mean, that's very obvious. And if you look at Tom's feet, the direction his feet are pointing, they're pointing outward. And it's not towards Gisele at all. It's almost like if we could imagine just the direction of his feet, like if he had to just move in the direction of his feet, he would be walking away from her. Okay. So the direction of his feet tells us a lot. Also, their facial expressions. You don't see any teeth in their smiling. You see very much almost stiff like looks that they are together, obviously. And this is not the same energy that you saw in the photo. They are smiling, very light smiles, no teeth, but they're very much focused on the camera. And the energy between them Well, I mean, you can make an assessment of what you think the energy between them is telling, but for me, I can definitely see a shift in body language from their early years to their latter years. And it's very interesting, to say the least, that this is 2 to 3 years before they divorced, unfortunately. But, uh, as I stated in the beginning, body language does not lie. You see them, and you almost have to see the first image, which is representative of the early years, and see a latter image to really be able to see, okay, there's a shift in their dynamic. And that's the thing that you want to observe in looking at body language. What is the shift? Because when people are together and there's a certain level of comfort and a certain flow, typically their body language doesn't change. So that's why we can look at some of the earlier photos of Tom and Gisele and see a consistency in their body language on the red carpet. And then when they show up like this on the red carpet, it's not consistent with how their body language usually is on the red carpet. So I would say drop your comments down below if you have a take on what this image shows in terms of the dynamic that exists between Tom and Gisele. But very, very obvious change in body language. So, our final image in this body language reading is actually an image of Gisele and her new partner, which I recently read that they actually were just married. This is her new partner, Joaquim Valente. And I want to just tell you, I've searched and searched and searched for images of Gisele and Joaquim on the red carpet. And it's important to know that so far to this date, there's only one image that I could find that shows them on the red carpet, and they're not even on the red carpet together. They are on the red carpet with other people, among other people, and I'll speak to that image shortly. But what I can say is a lot of people had their opinions about how quickly Gisele moved on once her and Tom Brady divorced. I will tell you, outside of being a jujitsu instructor, which likely he owns his own business, outside of Joaquim being what some people would say very much a regular kind of guy, he is also said to be a little bit younger than Gisele. I think there's roughly about a 7 year age difference between the two of them. But what's so important for you to pick up on in this image is there is an equality in this relationship, and it's evident in the pictures, because the reason why it's so difficult for me to find a picture of Joaquim and Gisele on the red carpet is because even in the instance where they were on the red carpet together recently, one, that's the only image that's out there, and two, from what I read, he kind of steps back away from the spotlight and lets her take center stage. And so it's not like they're this couple in the spotlight kind of thing. She's very much a superstar, and he is who he is. That's the way I interpret it. And what's so telling about their body language is the fact that when you look at them, you see Gisele and Joaquim almost shoulder to shoulder. They're walking side by side. All of the pictures that I've seen of Joaquim and Gisele out and about, walking side by side, it's always the same dynamic. He's never leading, she's never leading. There's usually the two of them very much even. They're very much side by side. As you can see, the image on the left, her shoulder and his shoulder is touching. As you can see, while they're on the beach holding hands, they're almost shoulder to shoulder. Even in the one and only red carpet video that I found, where they are among a group of people, they're standing side by side in a group photo, very much shoulder to shoulder. So, this dynamic and this energy between Joaquin and Gisele is very much telling that there is an equality in their relationship. And these are not red carpet photos, obviously. They're very much casual out and about photos. And although I didn't include casual out and about photos of Tom and Gisele, you can kind of look and see the history of Tom and Gisele and when they were out and about walking, and you would actually see there'd be times where Tom is leading ahead of Gisele, or Gisele is walking ahead of Tom. There was clearly a leader within the connection and the marriage between Tom and Gisele. But when you compare it to Gisele's newer husband, there is an equality. They're always side by side, and that is their dynamic. Now, we can't predict how this relationship is going to go and flow into the future, but what I can say is if there's a dynamic change, it'll most likely show up in the body language before it shows up anywhere else. But this image is very much representative of Joaquin and Gisele's energy. They're very much equal, side by side type of holding space together. There's a togetherness, there's a unity that exists between the two of them. And so I'd say, as this couple grows and develops in their relationship, that's something you can and you should look for. This energy being maintained, whether it's on the red carpet or whether it's paparazzi photos of them out and about, but this tells you this is the baseline for this couple right now. And I'm so happy for Gisele. Hopefully, this is a relationship that she's in for the long haul. It seems like she's quite happy, and the body language is very much telling of the story of how relationships can unfold and shift and evolve over time. I hope you all enjoyed this reading, this body language reading. If you like this video, don't forget to hit the like button, and I will see you next time.